Purpose podcast. We are in season 2, and boy, have I got a treat for you all tonight. You know, we only have real stories, real perspectives, and real insights on this show. And tonight is no different. We have none other than Mrs. Michelle McKenney, who will be talking to us about several things tonight and sharing her story and insights from her best-selling book. And she's had several. And she'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about her, a little bit of her personal life. She'll open up her personal things and her alabaster box. So I'm excited to hear a lot about her tonight. So Michelle, before we get started, I want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming on the show tonight and opening up yourself and being transparent so that other people that may be going through some of the same things or have accomplished some of the same things that you've accomplished to hear your story and just to get a little bit of hope from it. And then to talk from a purpose perspective, like what's life look like for you now versus before. But without further ado, I don't want to prep the battlefield anymore. I want to bring you on so the people can hear you. So you have the floor, Michelle. It is yours, and you can start however you please. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am 52. I am a New Yorkan by way of Brooklyn, Mount Vernon, the Bronx. Now I live in North Carolina due to being in the Army for over 28
Oh,
years.
Army.
Right. So, uh, what else about me? I have 2 dogs. I'm married to a great man. He is a mental health therapist. Um, what else can we talk about? Um,
Well, you know, I got a long list of questions. I can just run down them, but I'm not going to do that tonight. We're gonna keep it a little bit on your side, but we'll pivot back and forth. So let's start here. This book that you have in the background. Talk to us a little bit about this book, why you even came to be in this book. From what I understand from my research, and I think I am. This is one of the books that I'm in as well.
yes,
Joy
ma'am.
365. I think it was 365 authors. But talk to me about your portion of the book. Don't give it all away because we want people to go buy it. But talk to us a little bit of your why. What was the purpose of you even getting involved in this book project?
So how it came to me, which, as you know, Dr. Vanessa Blackwell is a true sent, God-given sent, and we have mutual friends. So one of my good friends, I know her as Daughter Smith, but she is such a beautiful soul. We have a definitely interesting way of how we came together in Germany, but we are almost like thick as thieves now. So she hit
They
me in
were in
my
Germany too. Oh my God, small
yes,
world.
ma'am. Yes,
We were
ma'am.
already all
So
over there
she was
together.
on me Sal. She's ammo. She was ammo.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha,
So she
gotcha.
ran there. But anywho, so she said, "Hey, I thought about you. I wanted to," because she had read my first book, Becoming a Shiro. So she said, "I want to connect you with somebody I recommended that you'll be perfect for a project." And I was like, "Oh, okay. What is this about? I'm not sure." Um, so then I spoke to her, and me and Dr. Blackwell got to talking about a lot of different things, seeing how we were connecting anyway. It was just like as soon as we got on the phone, we talked about, because she's from up north, she's from Maryland. We got to talking about up north and how Northerners do, how we just do anyway. And then we were just stuck together. So my why for that book was, at that time, I was going through a transition in my life.
Mm,
So I was scared about it.
mm,
I wasn't sure which way to go. I thought that, and also we do, a lot of us do, when we are in fear, we tend to overthink.
mm-hmm,
So, in the Army, I was doing logistics. So in logistics, we have to strategically plan anyway.
mm-hmm.
So with that being said, all those factors and all those other behaviors and traits and things that I thought was normal for me, that really wasn't normal. Right.
Mm,
So talking to God, having a different relationship with God, then
yeah.
I had to pivot. So it was challenging. Um, I didn't know which way to speak, but she just said, just speak your heart. And then we'll figure out the other nuances then.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. So all the things, the necessary things that we have learned in the military helped a lot too, of course,
Yeah.
because we are a lot of team building and things, activities that we have to do, depending on what our leader, our responsibilities are, to include our what level you're at, that they gave us the necessary skill set. So just that, the word for the man to hire whoever higher being you have, mine is God,
Yeah.
right? Um,
That's right.
and then also to trying to give myself grace, because a lot of times
Mm,
we don't give ourselves grace.
I like that.
So that's it. I'm not going to talk about nothing else. You got to go buy the book.
I love it. Where can I get this book, Michelle? Is it on Amazon? Is it you
So
have
it's on my
autographed
website.
copies?
So I have a website. It's www.iam Michelle MICHELLE McKenney McKenney.com.
Okay. All right, folks. You heard what she said. Go out there to the website, IamMichelleMcKenney.com. Go get that book so you can read the phenomenal story. And you can find mine in there somewhere too. So you get double for your trouble when you go get this book. Okay. Let's talk a
Amazing
little
other
bit.
stories.
Yes, let's talk a little bit about some more of your portfolio and intellectual property, Ugly Essentials. I remember when you were creating the prototype for the logo and your branding, and tell us about Ugly Essentials, because the name Ugly would make people think that this is some unattractive type of thing. So talk to us about this, because this is something that we can purchase as well. Talk to us a little bit about that purpose move that you made with your company.
So with Ugly Essentials, at the time, that was another part of my transition in my life, that I started doing work in mental health with children and teens and adolescents. Um, as actually it's called intensive in-home. So then too, I had I met I'm not gonna say a great person, but a person, a thing, should I say, an entity that
Mm,
entered my life that will drastically change anyone's life,
mm,
called cancer.
mm.
So that journey, still being a soldier, active duty soldier, still
Wow.
pushing and maneuver, try to be the strong Black woman
Mm-hmm.
in an environment that we already know in the institution. So at the time, through that journey,
Yeah.
I was going through, my body was going through a lot of things. So my skin, my hair, my eyelashes, everything. So I could not find the right stuff that would help me, right?
Wow.
All my other products I couldn't use anymore. So that's how I came up with thinking about, oh well, how can I make that happen?
Mm,
And some people that she's one of my business mentors. I spoke to her. She went to school with my husband at St. Aug, and she said, I
mm.
think we can do something with that. So when that was all in the process, because my skin was all messed up, like I said, my hair was thinning out, I do vision boards with all my kids, which is a great way to figure out what you're doing in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting around and I'm just stumbling around looking, thinking about stuff in my past, because they
Yeah.
used to call me Twiggy,
Why?
because I was like 94 pounds actually soaking wet just to come in the army. I had to actually gain weight to come in the army. So I was
Wow.
always a little tiny something.
I mean, you're still
So
tiny. Let's be clear. You are still tiny.
I was
I mean, you
tiny.
fine is fine. Let's be clear.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I tried to be. So we doing our vision boards and we're looking around them, and she had wrote ugly um on her board. And I was like, so why would you put that word on there? And she's like, well, Miss McKenney, you're always saying that we have to love ourselves from inside before we can love anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to love yourself. So that's how I prayed about it, talked about it. And I said, girl, that is good. I said, you know what? And then me and her, it's funny. She would help. We'd have ideas. We'd brainstorm. Then you and I would speak. And basically that's how we created Ugly Essentials. You know, you
Oh
got to
my
love
God.
yourself.
I did not know the full story. I only got a piece of it. But ugly is an acronym, right?
Yes. Yes. So it stands for you got to love yourself. So it's something we want to do with all our products, where versus it's products for our men with their beard or their face. Some of our soaps, our body butters, our souffles, our face cleanser, our hair shampoo and everything like that. That no matter what you look like, it doesn't matter. Everyone's different. Everybody's got their own uniqueness.
That's
But we
right.
wanted to provide a product that's affordable, friendly, and to include that while you're loving on yourself, all it's doing is enhancing all those other things that you have with you that makes you different.
From the
And that's
inside out. I
okay from
love
the
that.
inside out. So it's okay to do that. It's okay.
I love that. I mean, so I heard a progression from you are mentoring these youth. You
Mhm,
saw someone write on their paper ugly, and you literally transformed that. That's visionary stuff.
mhm,
Wow. Yeah, that's resonating with me right now because we don't understand something that somebody else can do or say to encourage us or
mhm,
discourage us to allow us to move forward or to be paralyzed in not doing anything in terms of progress or purpose towards our destiny. Wow, that is very powerful, Michelle. Thank you for sharing that.
thank you.
Are you still working with those youth? And
Yes.
since you're talking about them a little bit, how did that change your perspective? Because you coming from the military, there was really no interaction with youth every day. It was grown folks and missions and deployments and weapons
Mhm,
and all to and parachutes and all that type of stuff. So how did you that's a pivot and transition mentally in and of itself,
mhm,
moving from the military to youth. How did
mhm.
that work for you?
So as a child, my mother has always said that just be yourself, no matter what. So then coming into the army, we promote that. We do. We really do. But we have some things that we have to be reserved, have boundaries, all of
Mhm.
that. And so I would still be able to self reflect.
Mm.
Sometimes, at whatever reason in our lives, we can't do that as human beings because we're had something that I'm gonna say some words that some people we don't like to hear, like trauma bond,
Uh,
or trauma,
that's a big
you
one.
know. So it affects us in some kind of way. So when we don't deal with that, it shows up in different things.
Yes, it does.
Our diet, maybe how we eat, how we socialize with people. It just if we have to learn that lesson, and God will keep continuously bringing it to you in different escalations levels
Mhm.
until you get it, until
Yes.
you really get it.
Wow. Michelle, you have said this a few times and I haven't addressed it, but I want to make sure I highlight this. You said God a few times. And of
Mhm,
course, we know the viewers may be people from different walks of life.
mhm,
I often reference my Christian beliefs and being a Christian and living my life in that manner throughout any of my platforms. So I want you to talk to me about that because you also said that when you were in Germany, your relationship or your perspective of God and your relationship with God may have been a little different than it is now. Can you give us a little insight on that piece?
okay, so ooh, child, sunshine, sunshine, sunshine.
You see, she calls me 7 different names. Okay, I'm just telling you. By the time we get done, it'll be about 8 names. But go
No,
ahead.
it will not. It will still always be Serelda or Sunshine, or my Basilisk or my president. That's it. That is kind of few though. But so when we were in Germany, that was just a different life, right? I transitioned from being single to married, coming over to dual military, um, transitioning from enlisted to officer, uh, being in that community as an enlisted, and then coming back as an officer.
Wow.
In the same community. Uh, so those different perspectives. And then too, I was really, really lucky to and grateful and honored to have met some great men in my life, as you know.
Yes.
Richard Dix,
Rich Dick.
Joe Ladner.
Yes. Awesome
So
leaders and people, awesome human beings.
yes. So, who are all part of Greekdom, which I really didn't even pay attention back then.
Yes.
To how we've evolved and how the impact was then. And it was just didn't pay attention. But they did. We didn't see it, but they did.
They did.
So to experience all that and do your job, all of that, multitasking, all that, it just, I think the better way for me to say it, and it came to me the other day. Back then, and then polarity. My relationship with God was differently because I was too much in my masculine energy as a woman.
Huh. Wow.
Now that I'm in another space, which is truly my feminine era, my soft girl era.
I'm telling you right now, before you finish that sentence, you have blown my whole mind right now. I have written this down. You will see that again. I promise you, you will see that again. That's important. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm not even going to expound on. Just go ahead.
So that really, I don't know why, but I'll own it. I didn't have time. I didn't really value the relationship with my higher being as much as I do now than I did then.
Michelle, a lot of people say that when you go through life circumstances or when life situations hit you, whether it's medical, whether it's marriage, divorce, children leaving the house, going to college, getting in trouble, whatever it is, do you think any of those things helped or transition you into the relationship that you have with God today? Because we've had several conversations since you've been in North Carolina, and you're very, very active in ministry there with various different programs. So can you speak to that or share if any of that kind of shaped where you are today with your relationship?
It did. But also did, again, asking why therapy. Why?
Therapy is not a bad thing, by the way. Foot stomp, knock on wood.
Yep. And then too, that bigger part, like I said earlier, giving yourself grace to process that, sit in it, so it can make you better, so you can be the best version of you.
Yes.
You owe that to yourself, not anybody else. That's your responsibility. So the more you pour into yourself, the better you can be for somebody else and you. So I thought I had to keep do. And then too, it didn't help that I had that other little spirit called people pleasing.
Oh.
So yeah, I just had a lot of unhealthy traits and behaviors.
Wow. Okay. So first of all, let me just say this. I have way too many notes on this piece of paper. And we are not going to get through all of them, but you've already put them out there. It's almost like you're the teacher and I'm the student right now, because you have hit so many different things. I wrote down finding the right stuff, I wrote down grace. I wrote down transition. And these are words that you said several times since we've been on this podcast. Of course, we've already talked about God. You just talked about loving yourself from the inside. You talked about too much of your masculine energy. Baby, I'm telling you, you're going to hear it again. You might see an article about it because you just helped me in a way put words to something that I think may be part of my own nature right now. Of course, having gone through a divorce, had been married for 23 years. I've only been married once. My children and my ex-husband, we were an ecosystem and now we aren't. So we're learning to live a life differently than we were before in several different pockets. So to hear you say too much of your masculine energy was showing up as a woman, I need to do some studying on that because I may not realize that that may be some of what may be happening. Now, it may not be intentional, especially now being single outside of a marital ecosystem. And now I have to be independent. I have to take care of things. And I was always independent from the beginning, let's be clear. But when you're in a marriage, when you're in a union, there are balances to your masculine energy showing up in your feminine energy. And you're 52. Like I said, you're fine as wine. You always been. None of my friends are. First of all, ugly doesn't mean the same thing anyway. According to you, in the class I'm having today, ugly means you gotta love yourself. Okay? So listen, as we get ready to close, I want you to think about some things that you can tell the viewers today. We might have to have a part 2 of this because you gave me way too much information to talk about in one space. But I will tell you what has stood out to me tonight is grace. Give yourself grace, understand, and we're just talking as a woman perspective, but it could be either way. Balance the energy that you show up with, whether it's masculine, feminine, toxic, healthy, unhealthy, whatever that energy is, make sure it's balanced. So thank you. I appreciate that, Michelle. Transition was another word that you talked about. Trauma bond was another word that you talked about tonight. I mean, these are so many different areas that we could have conversations about for hours and days. I may have to create a retreat and bring you on out to do some conversations with some women and men. Okay. So listen, I'm going to give you, come on, girl, come on. I'm going to give you the last words as we move and transition out of this podcast segment. Talk to us about how the viewers can find you and any last things that you want to share with them as we go into 2025. The floor is yours.
Okay, so you can find us on Instagram as ugly_essentials_online. And we're on TikTok as Ugly Essential Skincare. And of course, you already got my website. If you would like to see any of our products, it's www.uglyessentialsonline.com. And what I will leave for everyone on going into 2025. We talked about a lot about grace. I'm not going to say anything else about that. But what we really we really don't know what we're going into 2025. Let's be clear. In our country, right? So more now than ever to live in the present moment.
Yes.
Because you can't. The stuff that happened in the past, we keep talking about the past. You do have to process it in order for you to move forward, right? However, if you do that, that's on you, not on anybody else, right? So take it for you and that's it. But also that whatever makes you smile, gives you butterflies, that is healthy, right? Sometimes it comes up and masks itself in a different way. That's not good for us. But the more you stay in the moment, living in the moment, thinking in the moment, the more it will prepare you and have you strong enough to go forward and be that creative person that you are, that positive person that you are. Some people think, I'm sure there's still people in the world that think affirmations are corny, but they're not.
They are
right.
Not.
So
Powerful.
The mind is a very powerful thing. That's why it's connected to the gut, right? So what we put in, we're going to get out. So
That's right.
If you put negative talk into, you're going to get negative things out. So positive self-talk is a plus. And self-care. Take that time. It's okay to say no.
And it's not
And
a bad word.
thank you, Sunshine, Dr. Serelda, Hervin, my
No.
girlfriend. I appreciate you. You have been a pivotal person in this whole entire author journey with me. So if it wasn't for you, I don't know where I would actually be. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate the talks. And I cannot wait to see what 2025 has for both of us.
Yes, ma'am.
And happy holidays to everyone. And thank you to everyone that has joined in to support us. And hey, just live in the moment. And happy holidays and be safe.
Yes, listen, folks, this is Mrs. Michelle McKenney. We want to thank you all for logging on this week. Come back next week. It's probably going to be a few weeks off. I think we may record next week, or is next week Christmas?
Oh, wait a minute. I got one thing to say.
Yes, ma'am.
I forgot to say thank you to my husband because he has kept our fur.